Good morning, everybody. My name is Kristin Snowden, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And this is a free live monthly webinar that is here to serve kind of by answering from experts of various areas all your questions and concerns around relationships. So as we know, when we go about this life engaging with other flawed human beings, we run into a lot of problems. Sometimes there's more extreme crises that come up of uncovering addictions, infidelity, betrayal. We talk a lot about that. But we also run the gamut of the more common struggles that happen in a coupleship where we just struggle. We don't even know what we don't even know, the communication, the unprocessed trauma, the shame stories we tell ourselves, the boundaries that we need to set. So I like covering all of that. It's all free and accessible on sexandrelationshiphealing.com and my YouTube channel, Kristin Snowden. But today is going to be a little bit different because this is often an audience that is mainly, it seems like, betrayed partners. I'm going to shift a little bit and have a conversation that is, I think, helpful to the betrayed partner, but more focused in the person who has done the betraying, whether it's because they've had an affair, there's porn use, there's chronic porn use, there's sex addiction going on, or any kind of substance use disorders, any kind of behavior that is done behind the back of their primary partners or their other loved ones, their family system, where there's lying going on, sneaking, manipulation going on. Because I feel like I've been exposed to both worlds. I run a men's drug and sex addiction program, so I kind of really understand the dynamics that show up there. I also run betrayed partners groups. And in my private practice, I often see clients who are trying to repair or figure out where to go after there's been infidelity. So a single infidelity or a long-term affair, etc. So this is a webinar just trying to lay out everything that I've seen and heard from those experiences to really educate the betraying partner, because often they come in with a lot of misunderstanding, misinformation, rationalizations, kind of selling short how their choices and their behaviors have impacted the whole family system. So the goal of me talking to the betraying partner is never to scold or punish or put down the betrayer. I just truly believe that the more education I can provide and the more understanding, then the more they will be capable of fostering empathy and compassion about everybody involved. I don't believe that they wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to have an addiction where I run around and manipulate and lie and destroy the lives of everyone who loves me and cause a lot of mental anguish and hurt. I don't think that that's what they do, but I do think there's a lot of misinformation, misunderstanding, refusal to see the other side. So these are, again, I'm going to run the gamut of kind of understanding that there's sex addiction type betrayal, which is different than affair type of betrayal or infidelity. There's crossovers, but differences with substance use. But I'm going to try to honor all of these when I talk about the betraying partner. So when an addict or a person who's acted outside the marriage with an affair, porn use, etc., what they usually think that they're doing is most basically seeking their own pleasure or intensity, or just trying to numb and distract from uncomfortable feelings. Or most often, they don't even know what these feelings are, and they're so disconnected and kind of wandering through life almost like in a dark room. And then all of a sudden, they quickly just find an exit. And that exit is their acting out behavior. And without thinking about it and considering the consequences of who they might harm, they just go, oh, yes, here we go. This is better than walking around blindly. This stirs up feelings in me, pleasure, intensity, or better yet, it gets me out of this scary state, this fear state, this anxious state. And then they're just going, and they're very compartmentalized. It also sometimes might be, not often, who knows, it's a balanced amount of maybe it is a symptom. My behavior My acting out behaviors might be a symptom of my unhappiness within myself, within my current relationship, within my life circumstances, tough seasons of life, tough relationship issues. Do your betrayed partners ever cause you to act out? No. Nothing that they do ever gives you permission or a green light or anything to start lying and sneaking around and manipulating. But for you, when you sit down and kind of do an inventory, you might say, oh, okay, so this happened. There was this death in the family, or my partner and I started kind of going in separate ways. I didn't even know what I didn't even know. And so this was my out. This is what I found. And also those what the addict thinks they're doing is they feel like their acting out behavior, or that acting out partner, or that acting out kind of medium gives them momentary states of joy, relief from the shame, something to fantasize about, get really excited about, and think about for the future. So it takes them out of the present state. So that's just kind of what I want to emphasize. They're not even thinking beyond their perimeter. They're just stuck and trapped in their own nothingness, and yet all the incredible intensity of everything all at the same time. So just lots of confusion, unable to grasp at what's going on. And unfortunately, their incongruencies, their disconnection with their body, with their feelings, with their ability to look beyond themselves, all result in a lot more trauma and hurt to the people around them. So the other thing to emphasize, besides what the addicts and the betraying partners think that they're doing, it's me, it's my life, it's my choices. I'm figuring stuff out. This is me doing what I like, what makes sense for me. I like this, don't take it away from me. What's required to keep that behavior in their life, because obviously the nature of that behavior, the porn use, the lying, the substance use, the cheating, the affair, would not have a positive reaction in their family system, right? That's not something the partner would be okay with should they know the whole truth. So the addict or betraying partner will have to engage in several additional behaviors in order to keep that acting out behavior, right? That affair, the porn use. So what they don't like realizing, the addict, the betraying partner, is that they think, oh, I just like this. This feels good. This is momentary release. I deserve this. I work hard. What they don't know is not going to hurt them. But the part they never really like to own is how much lying and manipulation and minimization and rationalization they have to set up in their brain, act out towards their family in order to keep their acting out behaviors intact. It's like, don't look over here. Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay attention to the fact that you nagged too much, or that, maybe if you didn't ask so much of me, or maybe if you appreciated me more, none of this would be happening, or no, you're crazy. That what you're thinking I'm doing is not accurate. You're just crazy. I wrote this article, and I'm going to link it down in the description. It's called Facing Infidelity with Courage, where I kind of break down, when I've worked in affairs or couples healing after an affair, I just started hearing a lot of overlap of kind of rationalization and stories that the betraying partner would tell themselves to kind of stay in that state of what I call purgatory. They haven't quite disconnected from the affair. They're not quite healing and recovering and being present in that relationship, and they're just hovering in between. And there's just a lot of stories that they had to tell themselves to stay in that state, because that state is, I call it purgatory, because it is absolute suffering across the board for the person acting out, for any kind of affair partner, acting out partner beyond there, the family system, the betrayed partner. It is absolute suffering. So there's just things, I'll link it down below, but it's a really interesting article to kind of go through all the stories and the rationalizations they say, oh, our marriage was done before I had this acting out behavior. Our marital problems aren't because of this acting out behavior or affair. or I just don't want my spouse to know about the affair because I don't want him or her to think that the marriage ended because of the affair acting out behavior. We have so many problems. That's what the real problem is. Just ignore this other whole thing that's taking up my time and energy and emotion and everything. My spouse wouldn't be able to handle the truth. So, anytime there's been a little hint that something's going down, he or she just acts crazy. So it's just, I keep it to myself, because my partner just doesn't know how to handle those things. The idea of giving up this treasured acting out behavior makes me kind of want to die inside. They don't say it exactly this way, but it's become my best friend, my security blanket. The idea of moving forward in life without it makes me sad. I don't think my partner or my relationship can give me what I need or meet my needs. Something I see a lot, and this is interesting, is every time I see my partner cry or emote or get upset, it just makes me push them away more, rather than because I feel so emotionless. I'm just doing this because it feels good. I'm entitled. I work hard for it. And then let's see what else. My spouse doesn't think there's anything wrong with the marriage. And I bet they're not willing to change. So even if I gave it up, I'd still have a disastrous relationship. Divorce and kids. Well, look, I don't want to get divorced because I don't believe in divorce. But I also just don't want to give up these acting out behaviors. And I break those all down and I talk about each one of those things, and I give a different perspective based on the betrayed partner's perspectives, challenging these cognitions, these rationalizations, these minimizations that betraying partners, so used to saying that, betraying partners often will tell themselves to kind of stop themselves from needing to really, what I kind of say is put on this like uncomfortable blanket of the truth, really owning the harm they've caused, the people they've hurt, the abusive things that they've done in the process of keeping their acting out behavior. I have another video that I did somewhat recently called "Is Infidelity or Addiction Emotionally Abusive?" And I kind of talk about how that is the case. So what is really happening? So the betraying partner just kind of thinks, look, this is my best coping skill. I seek pleasure. I'm not hurting anybody. What he or she doesn't know is not going to hurt him. I don't want to go back to life without it. I don't want to see the line manipulation, rationalization. So I'm just going to focus in on this. It makes me happy. I like it. What is really happening to the partner, the betrayed partner, and even the family system when the betraying partner is engaging in the addiction or affair or other acting out behaviors is, first and foremost, it causes the betrayed partner so much anguish. There is something to be said for the crazy making of loving someone or sharing a life with them, where that you are so vulnerable to the whims of this person financially, if they have children with you, if you guys share homes and have relationships and intertwined worlds, the maddening of knowing that this other person's choices can destroy your entire life or have it just turn upside down, and there's so little control you can have over that. It is crazy making, and that doesn't even count the crazy making from someone coming home every day and discounting your feelings, looking at you crying, saying, please get yourself together, please go to the meeting, please stop, delete these acting out partners' names from the phone, why are they still calling you, please stop viewing the pornography. It is crazy making. And so often the betraying partner will look at their spouse and just be like, oh, I don't know if I can be in a relationship with them. They're so upset, they're so angry, but not really saying they are appropriately emoting to the insanity and the chaos and the uncertainty of their environment, an environment that you helped create. It's, I write in that article, as long as you're lying to your spouse, sneaking around, acting suspiciously, or disengaged entirely emotionally, and you're behaving in ways that your spouse, that leads them to feel completely unsafe, not just in the marriage, but unsafe in their entire world, because they're saying things to themselves like, if this is the person that I lay with, that this is my intimate partner, and he or she is capable of sneaking around, lying to my face, gaslighting, doing these kind of nefarious acts that are completely contradictory to us being teammates, to us, apparently giving each other the benefit of the doubt, working towards building a common unified life that I thought we'd agreed to do. If I'm capable of choosing this person and this is happening, who else is lying to me? Maybe I am crazy, so maybe everybody else thinks I'm crazy too. And it spills into every other aspect of their life. When someone is in that constant state of feeling unsafe, he or she is not their true self either. They're not able to live their best life, to be contemplative, to say, oh, what are my passions? What do I want to be? Oh yeah, I used to be really funny. Do you remember when I used to tell jokes? They're not thinking about jokes. They're thinking about, what are you doing? How do I catch you? What kind of detective work can I do to stand in truth for once? And you can feel emotionless, and it's just a reflection of the fact that there's two things going on. You're seeing them emote because they're in a state of discomfort, chaos. And then you also, sometimes the betraying partner needs to be even more emotionless, because if I really took in how much harm I've caused this person, and really took in their tears and their begging, then that would be really yucky inside. And I don't do uncomfortable emotions, because I've learned to just compartmentalize them and just go seek out pleasure, distraction, intensity, numbing. So I'm just not good at letting down that compartment and taking it in. So I can definitely appear even more emotionless. And then guess what that does to your partner, as they have all this emotion going on. Usually they just will up it, and increase it. So it's this really, really vicious cycle, but it is grounded in the fact that the addict or betraying partner doesn't do uncomfortable emotions, isn't owning or being authentic or transparent about what's really happened, and isn't showing up transparently, authentically, willing, accountable, etc., to own that the harm that they've done, and start working towards being more transparent, more authentic, more vulnerable, and having empathy and compassion, etc. The other last thing I want to say, that's a message to the betraying partners. They'll often say, well, I'm just going to stay in this relationship because of our kids and our marriage, and I don't believe in divorce, and yeah, I go do these things to meet my needs, but I'm here. I pay the bills. I provide this lifestyle. I am doing and being good. The problem with that, I can tell you from treatment, and ironically, how many sex addicts or people coming out of affairs themselves are really, it's just basically really unhealthy relationships, right? Where they spend more time in torment about what's going on in their relationship. There's strong there's miscommunication, there's some levels of emotional abuse that go on, and there's this just moving from one intense, scary, chaotic moment to the next scary, chaotic moment. And often when I take the family history, even though acting out betraying partners think, oh, these kids don't know, almost all of them will say, well, I knew my dad was having an affair. Oh, well, I knew my mom had a very serious drinking problem. And I just want to kind of challenge you all to know that, I know in your own pain, you're just focusing in on yourself, your relationship, but these kids around you are watching your behaviors, your choices. I mean, I personally believe that children, first and foremost, learn how to love, relate, emote, trust, share with others by watching others, by having it role model to them, and also engage in it through trial and error. And so chances are your kids' relationships will probably take on similar traits and attributes to the way you are treating your partner. So I know that's a painful message, but I need you to kind of sit with that pain for a little bit and think about how do you want your kids to be able to hold boundaries? Do you want your kids to be able to walk away when they're being abused? Do you want your kids to be able to identify, this is love, this is not love? And this is the way I respond when someone speaks to me this way, or when someone harms me, or better yet, when I'm feeling yucky feelings, this is the right way to cope, to emote, to seek help, to ask for help. This is the harmful way. Knowing that lying and manipulation is what it is. It's lying and manipulation. And I don't want to have that in my life. And I don't want to have a partner in my life who thinks it's okay as well. So those are just challenges. The last part I want you to, so I want you to also understand for your partner engaging, what your betrayed partner is going through. They feel crazy, they question his or her instincts. It muddies the waters of the entire marriage. You know, did he or she ever love me? Was anything real or honest? They're afraid of who else around them is unsafe. Who knows, who doesn't know, who's plotting against them, what harm is around the corner from them. They question their ability. Then the questioning of their instincts and intuition goes into their parenting skills. Are they a competent employee? Are they good at what they do? It just bleeds into everything. There's this question of like emotions. Are they good? Are they bad? Because often the betraying partner is not competent with emotions, or doesn't come from a family system that's competent with emotions. So there's almost this judgment about crying, about being upset, about being angry about things, because the betraying partner is like, I've gotten through everything by just being very stoic. I feel nothing. I react in no way except for just acting out in this way. So there's a lot of confusion about what is an appropriate emotion and not, and they don't feel validated. Physical tolls, I've talked about this a million times. They have gastrointestinal issues, chronic headaches. They have a ton of inflammatory diseases, panic attacks, emotional issues. And then I already talked about the family toll, the toll that it will take on the family system. Keep in mind, betraying partners, that your betrayed partners actually feel their feelings. They might not have as sharp and practiced and rehearsed compartmentalized skills. So you are seeing a fully functioning human being being connected with their hurt, connected with their betrayal, feeling the vulnerability of, I've exposed myself to this person and I've been hurt. And so that's really what you're seeing. I mean, just because you can pack it away and push it over and justify it or rationalize or minimize it or whatever, does not mean that your partner can. So I'm going to finish up with just a few things. This is for the betrayed partner, but it's also for the betraying partner. These are signs that I like to see during the recovery phase when I'm doing the couples work, during the repair stages. These are the things I look for in the betraying partner for signs that they're moving towards a healthier version, that they're moving away from the purgatory, away from the rationalization, away from the line of manipulation, and more into a fully, what I like to call like a congruent, aligned human being who says what they means what they say. They understand what their emotions are. They know how to deal with them. They can hold space for other people's process in those different respects. So the first thing that is always necessary is this humbleness and surrender to the fact that what they've done, right? We know step one is that I am powerless. And the reason why they use that powerless is because there's actually supposed to be a freedom and a liberation in the fact that to this point, my best thinking got me here. And so I need to wave the white flag and I need to ask for help. What I've done is not okay. I struggle with choice making. I say addicts, they really have is a really flawed decision making tree. They base decisions on inaccurate information, flawed thinking, etc. So you need to be humbling yourself to that fact, surrendering yourself to that fact, and kind of let that uncomfortable blanket of what I'm capable of being and doing sit on you for a while. And then that helps the person move to a willingness to live in consultation with a few others, right? And so for like the 12 steps 2 and 3, are saying that you're going to kind of accept influence from this fellowship, a higher power, because I am powerless to this. My best thinking, my best effort in trying to stop this behavior, stop harming other people, is not going well. So I need a couple other people who've been through it, who can call me on my stuff and challenge me. So sponsors, appropriately trained therapists, people in a community who have gotten recovery from similar behaviors, etc., can really just kind of call you out, and you let the pain of them calling you out, them seeing you, and the ouch, that was harmful. So that hurt is like, let it sit and kind of say, what are they seeing that I might not be seeing? Understand, another thing I look for is being connected to all their feelings. So I talked about that. With a lot of betraying partners, there's this strong disconnect from the harm they've caused, the hurt they've caused. There's a lot of, I mentioned that there's a lot of blame shifting. And well, she did this, he did this is what my childhood was. That was, versus the truly sitting in that humbling state of pain, of hurt, of confusion, of sadness. Understand why they're doing what they're doing, and feeling what they're feeling. So, and that even includes, I personally think that when people are kind of getting to this higher level of feeling and being, engaging with each other, because you're a flawed human being and I'm trying to have a relationship and I'm a flawed human being. So what there is there's a lot of non-dualistic kind of thinking and experiencing. So Richard Rohr always talks about that. Dualistic is, it's either this or this, whereas non-dualistic thinking is kind of this higher level where it's a little more gray area. It can be this and maybe this at the same time. And so I look for the addict and the partner to kind of be saying like, yes, I have done horrible things. I am capable of making bad choices. I totally get why you don't trust me. So this, but also I'm doing my best. I know you're angry, but it is very hard for me to see you so angry. I want you to trust me right away because I'm doing my best, but I also need to understand that it's going to be a while. That is like, I would like stand up and slow clap if someone could have all those different statements where they're just holding space for contradictory statements, but they are still all realities. It's like, I'm doing my best, but I can do better. I know I've harmed you, but I'm trying. You're super angry. I don't like it, but I get it. Like, and that's kind of what we're looking for in the recovery process. And it's hard. You have to swallow up, it's a lot of shame resiliency, a lot of trauma work that you have to get through to actually tolerate the space for those non-dualistic truths. Understand what led to it all. I love the timelines. I love the step 4 concepts because those are all really breaking down what's happened to my life. When did I find that exit door and think, oh, this is the best idea in the world to be getting drunk at every party, or, to be watching porn. What I meant to be was 30 minutes and then it turned to 3 hours every day. There were several baby steps that led you to get there. And there's got to be an understanding, a contextual understanding of what led you to that point. What were you pushing down, avoiding in order to get there, or seeking out in order to pursue those behaviors and choices? And then now, what are the replacement coping skills, choices, behavior you're going to make now that you know better, now that you have a really strong reference point? And communicating these to your partner, your betrayed partner, can really help them start rebuilding trust and safety I find that's a really important thing. Boundaries, setting them, because a person who is aware of themselves knows what's okay and what's not okay, and then will ask for someone else to respect what's okay and what's not okay in their life. So boundaries are a great sign that they're moving to a healthier state of being, even when that boundary is like something your partner or your family members or your colleagues might not like. That I can't work this many hours anymore, that that there's some people, and there's varied beliefs on this, that my sponsor relationship is sacred, so no, you can't talk to my sponsor. You can talk to my individual therapist about my progress in recovery, but my sponsor is supposed to be my sacred space. Everyone has different opinions on that, and they handle that differently, but that's just an example of where your partner or your family or colleagues may not like that, but that's the boundary that you realize, I have to sacrifice X, Y, and Z because I got to get to meetings, or I got to go to therapy, or I have to do the self-care for me, or I need to take a break because I'm overwhelmed. And really saying, like, this is what I realize I need now. The absence of blame shifting or gaslighting. So like I said, that requires the comfort and complexity. The comfort and the complexity is required to hold space for multiple truths. Like I said, when you're uncomfortable with all these different truths, that I'm capable of being horrible, and that you may never forgive me, and that you're super angry, but I am doing my best and I want things to get better. When I hold all those truths, I'm less likely to blame you, to let feelings come out indirectly, to gaslight, to invalidate, etc. Lack of duplicity. Obviously, addicts are duplicitous. They will look at you and say something to your face and then go do something to the back. I mean, that's like the definition of duplicity. So the absence of that. Instead, they're very clear. What I say is what I mean. I follow through in just the most basic of things. Tammy says that a million times. You say you're going to be home at 6 o'clock, you better be home at 6 o'clock. If you're going to be late, you just do the appropriate thing. And even though it's going to be uncomfortable, say, I'm sorry, there's traffic. I'm sorry, I talked on the phone too long for a meeting. I'm sorry, I have to do X, Y, and Z, but this is what's going on. This is the context, so you understand. I personally think that I look for addicts, and this only applies to certain people and certain patterns, but operating out of duty and obligation. It's common, especially for men, to kind of think that, okay, well, I'm serving the family as long as I bring home money and I create this life for them, or when they ask me to take out the trash, I take out the trash, or when I pick up the kids from school, I'm like checking off the box, like I'm doing relationships, I'm doing for others. But now that you are a more complex being who wants to be authentic, vulnerable, real, and understand life and relationships and emotions better, I look for going beyond that duty and obligation, and need to know, because really what that is about self-worth. Often we operate out of duty and obligation because we think that's the value we offer. In fact, when we're going around and sneaking around behind their back and we're doing schmucky things, we come home and go, well, at least I took the trash out tonight. See, I'm a good person. And I like to see that when you can move away from operating out of the just serving others, just duty and obligation, what I think is that's you building up value for all the other things that you bring now, that you're honest and truthful and can do tough conversations and sit with hard feelings. They're that higher frequency human that doesn't just need to do and check things off the list. You're offering and worth so much more than that. Shame resiliency skills. Like I said, it takes a lot of shame resiliency skills to hold space for the crappy things you've done in the past and the harm you've caused, but still actually start liking who you are now. I'm capable of doing some really bad things, but I'm doing my best. I'm being honest today. I'm, loving people today. I'm being transparent. The ability for the betraying partner to hold space for the betrayed partner's anger and hurt. Those are high level skills to be able to just sit there and say, I get why you don't trust me. I get why you're so angry. How can I help you? I mean, that takes a lot, because you have to move aside a lot of blame shifting, gaslighting. Well, you did this. Well, you did that. Well, I have feelings too. Well, I'm doing my best. So how much more do you need from me? That was a year ago. How long are you going to punish me for that? Last thing, I look for the recovering partner, the betraying partner, to be able to form authentic, vulnerable. Sorry, my phone is going off. I look for the betraying partner to be able to form authentic, vulnerable, honest connections with people who are not in their sexual attraction template. So that's a complex way of saying, if I'm a heterosexual male, I look for them to be able to have intimate connections with a few other men, a few good men. That's like an epidemic in our society right now. There's multiple articles that are being written about it, that men are struggling with intimate, real connections with others. So they will do a really great program. They'll be abstinent, they'll pass their polygraphs, they'll do their therapy, they'll repair with their wife. But I ask them how many friends they have that know what's going on or what they're trying to do in life, and they'll say of this many, none. There's a guy, I talk to people about fix-it issues, we play golf, but it's not. And I need to see that, because if you have a few people who are not your partner, like your partner is not your end all be all, they're important to you and you need to repair with them, but you've got to have a couple other people that can meet other parts of your soul's needs, so to speak. Talk about guy things, talk about girl things, talk about hurt and pain, process hurt and pain, that by the nature of talking it out with them, it doesn't bleed out into your relationship. Talking about urges, hurts, pains, trauma, it doesn't bleed into other situations. So I want to see authentic, vulnerable, honest connections with people who are not in your sexual attraction template. So, and that's it.
Great stuff. I, as usual, have notes, and you've talked about lots of things, and I think often of the betraying partner having like a Kevlar, like they're so protected, from things. And when you were talking about the betraying partner, shutting down, and the betrayed partner escalating, you can just, like, I could just visualize, the betrayed partner amping up and the betraying partner pulling away, going, pushing it away, and it just creates more chaos. You are talking about higher level things. This is stuff that is into recovery. This is not like, oh, we've been doing this for 3 days, and so now we're going to be able to do this. And this is the vision for how you heal things. So please understand that. We and you talked about this a bit with divorce and parenting and stuff, and that was one of the ones that like we hear all the time. Well, I'm a good provider, I'm a good husband, I'm a good dad. And I'm like, you're not a good dad when you're on the softball, coaching the softball, but you're swiping on your phone for your affair partner and things. Like you can't be. You also can't be a good, and I'm using dad and mom, but you, if you're hurting mom, if your behaviors are contradictory to providing safety and security and trust for mom, it's problematic. I know kids feel the energy, and I always end up crying on yours, but I know for sure when I divorced my first husband, because I had this vision of, is this the role model I want? Do I want my daughter to be in a relationship like this? Do I want her to accept that this is how someone can be treated? And it was no, and it was painful. But man, she is amazing. She everything she went through, and I mean, she picked up on those. She was 2.5, and she's like, "Daddy mad at you again, mommy?" And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is what I'm modeling for her. So it was my journey. I'm not saying what's right for me is right for anybody else, but that was one of those I had to understand that he was not willing to change. And that was, what I had to do for my situation. So it was hard, but it was the right thing. I love that you're talking about, the humbleness and the surrender. And it's really easy to do that and then take it back. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, I'm committing to doing this. And now I haven't heard from them. So it's always that dance of like, I'm in the moment, I'm willing, and I'm willing to do whatever. And then like you were talking about, with the part, when are you going to get over it? And that,
Right.
I just, so continuing to do that one, in the promises, that we don't shut the door on our past. We have to continue to not to, to be in the swamp of it, but to keep it in mind so that we don't return to that. And that we also, like, it's really important for me. I understand, all the things that got me to recovery. And there was a lot of stuff in there. I don't shut the door on that. I don't want to return to that, but I have to keep that in my vision, on the periphery, because then it keeps me honest and not going, oh yeah, I got this recovery. I don't, I have it for today, but none of us magically have it. When you're talking about obligations, I wrote down human doing, because it's really easy to be a human doer instead
Right.
of a human being. And that was a tough lesson for me to learn, is not just about checking off the boxes. My family used to laugh at me because, I say, what's on the agenda today? And, and it was like, because the more we do on those checked off boxes, the better day we have. And I was like, I had to unlearn that. I had to learn that it isn't just about, checking off boxes,
Doing.
but being in community and connection. I really want to point out too, on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, those attachment things. We have drop-in groups. We've got guys that new guys that come in, but we've also got guys that have continued to be part of those groups. And so there's these core people that are, and they're in communication, and they're texting and calling each other outside of those groups as well, because they have to, they value having accountability and connection, with other people who are on the journey. That is how we shift and change. And you're right. A couple being the only support for each other, it's also the hurts. So getting support, betrayed partners getting support with other betrayed partners, those betraying partners getting support with other people who are on the journey, that makes such a difference. And then we can be authentic, we can show up differently. We do have work groups, for guys, not just the sex addiction 101 and porn addiction 101, but inner child, like you're talking about, where were those disconnects, inner child, attachment
Mhm.
wounds,
Mhm.
some of those things that go deeper. And then betrayed partner groups too. So there are resources. So I'm, please know that the things that Kristen's talking about, the vision for, like when you're talking about, I would stand up and slow clap. I'm going, yeah, I'd be there with you cheering, because that's when relationships really change and heal, and they can. So great stuff as always. Okay, so we've got bunches of questions. My betraying partner is sober. When I share my feelings with him, he often says what he did was in the past, typically followed by, I can only try to change my behavior now and be a better man. I know that is truth, but it doesn't help me feel better. I am so hurt by all the lies. He doesn't remember much of his acting out. We are 10 months post affair discovery and 3 months post discovery of porn addiction, online cheating. He seems to lack emotion and empathy. What can he do to learn empathy and be able to realize how hurtful his actions were?
Right. So it's that really painful holding space for multiple truths. So right now, I think he's kind of got that soundbite of like, I did bad things, but now I'm being better. Uh, Part of when he actually really believes that in his heart, he might be able to look at you and see you in your pain state and actually be there. Because my gut's telling me that it might be almost like a script, like you're feeling like he's reading to you versus like a true energetic connection of him seeing that and meaning that. But the other question I have too is you're in the thick of it. I mean, 10 months post one major upheaval, 3 months past another. brutal discovery. You're in the thick of your nervous system, just all over the place. What is safe? What's the truth? Who's lying? Will he relapse? What am I going to do if he does? That you are, your nervous system feels unstable, unsafe. You need to start asking yourself what might feel safe. So what are you looking for? Are certain behaviors, tones of voices, physical actions like a hug or him making eye contact or being more present in a certain way? Are there moments when he does help you feel seen and safe and present and empathetic and compassionate? I have some, I'm certified in like the Brene Brown stuff, and she talks a lot about empathy and compassion. So I have some videos on healing shame with empathy and compassion, kind of how to work on that and practice it. But you have to push through your own pain of like, wow, I'm capable of this. I did this to her. I is she ever going to get over this? Like really actually questioning that. You have to work through that before I can sit with your stuff, where I can sit with like a, yeah, I really made a mess of this situation. What do you need? How can I help you? I'm going to try it. I might not, I can't erase time, but I can definitely try to make things better in these moments. And together we can start figuring out what helps you feel safer, what things help, because he doesn't know. I mean, your nervous system is your nervous system. So he's going to probably need a lot of coaching about, it makes me feel safer when you do X, Y, and Z. And I do not like when you do X, Y, and Z. That's kind of like script building.
Yeah, well, and to me, like the 10 months is not really 10 months, it's 3 months. So
Right.
you are very, very early in this process. You didn't indicate, and you didn't have to because it's a small space, but what is he doing? Is he attending our, sex addiction, porn addiction work group? Is he going to daily, 12-step in our drop-in groups on sex and relationship healing? Is he working with a qualified professional for individual and group? What is he doing? Those are the actions that will start to shift things. But and we've talked about this a lot before too, like what is his plan? What is his 3-circle plan? What has he done? To start having having some actions that back up, because just saying I'm not going to do that anymore and not doing anything to change is just waiting for another discovery, unfortunately. But he will rebuild trust over time. When he's got 12 to 18 months of not having more discoveries and you start to see things shift, that's when it starts to feel different. But I'm sorry, but you are way early in this, and he's been lying to you he lied to you for 7 more months after you had the discovery of the 10 months. So keep that in mind. It's a process. Dr. Rob says all the time, trust is rebuilt over time, and so it's it's a journey, and it will feel really rote. But he's speaking a different language. Like it's like learning a foreign language. He doesn't know empathy. He's shut down everything. So all of this is he has to learn, and it will feel awkward for both of you. But what Kristin said about, are there moments of when he says this or does this, it does feel, like it's got some integrity, when you're not in the moment of a situation, having the conversation of like, when I'm feeling this way, when I'm, expressing this is what I'd like you to do. Teach them, it's like, what do you need? Do not ever think that an addict is going to automatically know how to do things.
No.
I always say, your girlfriend will understand, but your addict is like got no clue. So it really is, a learning process. But I'm so glad you're here, and lean into the betrayed partner groups on sex and relationship healing.com too. And the work group starts again in October, for that as well. So okay, next question is, from a betrayed partner standpoint, are periodic accountability checks, phone, computer search, as history a good idea?
Right. So this is always the same answer I give, which is you have your own nervous system. you have to start figuring out what does actually make you feel safe, from polygraphs, phone checks, having him or her home when they say they're going to be home. You got to figure out what helps you feel safer, with what's a moment of relief that you get, because do whatever that is. First, I've given the example, some people, betrayed partners, the idea of checking their partner's phone makes them want to throw up. Like they just don't want to. Other people, it is their saving grace and their lifeline. Same thing with like polygraphs. There's complete opposite ends who like that and don't like that. So there's no correct answer. You have to be plugged into your body and start thinking of what kind of things can he or she do that make me feel safe? What kind of things can I do that will help me feel safer? And then start asking for those.
Yeah, I just put in the chat there's filters, and having a filter, because I'll tell you, the addicts will game around it like it's a game to get around blocks. The filters are there so that they hopefully go, oh, I'm going to think about, do I want this to be on the report that goes to my sponsor or therapist? Ideally not to partners, but having passwords, etc., so that you could, if you choose to, I think that's transparency. But ultimately, at the end of the day, anything that a partner thinks is fail proof, an addict can get around. They can get another phone, they can go use somebody else's computer. So it is about, does the addict want to learn to be on a different journey, or are they just going to continue to do the same thing? So you having healthy boundaries about what you need. I love what Kristin was talking about. It's like, what feels good to you, how much, energy do you want to focus on? And it varies on that person's addiction and behaviors. How much do you need to, step away and do good things for you? Like that's the balance. There's no right or wrong. It's what is right, for you. But I do think the filters are really helpful, because if the addict is going, oh, my accountability person is going to get this, I don't really want to have to explain why I went to that website. So it can just give them that extra little pause. So are they embarrassed? I'm assuming this is about the betraying partner, about what they've done. I know my SA husband struggles sharing with me, although he says he knows other married men friends who have said to him that they struggle being monogamous, but I don't think the conversations go deeper with them.
So I can't look into the mind of your partner and guess what he's feeling. But my experience has been that we are neurobiologically wired to connect with other people. So we naturally want others to love, validate us, affirm us. So when we are in disconnection, when someone is mad at us, when we've hurt them, when we've said something they don't like, when we've lied, cheated, etc., we might have the recognition of that experience disconnected from us, but usually neurobiologically it is very unpleasant. So our body will send us yucky cues, because it all goes all the way back to survival. If we lost our caretakers when we were born, we were going to die. So it was like the toddler who's lost in the mall. That's neurobiologically what's happening inside us when we are lying, sneaking around, doing hurtful things. But addicts, because of the nature of their behaviors and neurobiological structures, they've created like defense mechanisms, compartments to not feel those feelings. So do they have neurobiology that's telling them this is wrong, this is bad, you should be, ashamed, hurt, guilty, etc.? Yes. Do they have defense mechanisms to not have to experience it? Also, yes. I don't know if that answers that question.
Yeah, and you talk often about shame and shame resiliency, and yes, when we start owning and taking responsibility, then we have to confront the embarrassment, shame. I mentioned the promises of 12 steps say we won't wish to shut the door on our past. So that's when we've work through that shame and embarrassment. I mean, like if I sat here and thought about things, I could probably go, ugh, but it isn't that deep shame that's I'll own it, that's a
Right.
different place, but the very compartmentalized, and as long as I don't have to, open that compartment, I'm fine. If you don't find out about my compartment, I'm fine. So it's a journey, but yeah, but it's challenging to be able to tolerate, looking at those things. That's what we do the 12 steps for. That's what we, work with qualified professionals. That's what we do the work for, though, is so that, we don't have to, pretend those things didn't happen. They did. So, okay. SA spouse started CSAT, completed childhood trauma timeline, just obtained a sponsor, and his first request for work to be done along with starting his disclosure document. He is overwhelmed and dysregulated emotionally. That's emotionally, and recently had a complete meltdown emotionally to the point of a panic attack. I'm sorry. As the betrayed partner who wishes to be supportive, I find that the emotional drain on me is building up. Going to meetings daily, journaling, etc., to keep sane and as balanced as possible. Wondering when SA spouse will begin to build his own resiliency when it's so overwhelmed. This is why people come to treatment, because all of that is done in a contained space, working with professionals. It is very challenging to do this work, on an outpatient, basis. So
it's almost like as if, imagine if all you saw was black and white your whole life, and then all of a sudden you could see color, and it's the middle of the day, and the sun's so bright, and there's so many things and noises flying around. Your nervous system would be completely overwhelmed because the input of stuff that you've just never even known how to handle or even knew existed is suddenly flooding into you. So that's my metaphor for what he's going through right now. I'm not like playing the violin and saying poor him. I'm glad he's doing these things, and I'm glad he's emoting and appropriately experiencing congruent emotions for what's really been going on in his life. The kind of robotic, compartmentalized version of him that did these behaviors is not the healthy version of him. The person who's now realizing, childhood trauma, the harm that he's caused, the disclosure, and listing all the things that he's done and did, and the lying and the sneaking around and the exhaustion and the money, and the time lost can just be overwhelming. So I'm just giving you context that he's in the thick of it. I do think if you guys stay the course, there's a tolerance that gets built. There's a relief when the disclosure occurs. Sounds like you're both doing a really great job of seeking help, seeking community. So I'm just gonna, I guess, alter the framework to, while it's unpleasant that he's having panic attacks and he's overwhelmed and dysregulated, that is the symptom of someone finally living in their truth, of reconciling with what has happened to them and what they have done as a consequence. And we can deal with the truth.
And I sent you consider seeking integrity. We have a 14, 21, or 28-day residential program. They get through all of that. It accelerates all of that, but in a safely cocooned environment. So here's one for you. My husband, the betrayer, is upset with me and said I hurt his feelings and is kind of ignoring me because I said he was a bad person for what he did. He cheated for 17 years of our marriage and porn addict for about 10. Also had financial infidelity. Is it wrong that I feel he is a bad person?
I mean, is that your truth? Do you feel like he's treated you poorly and has harmed you greatly? Remember, higher frequency people who are okay with having hard conversations and doing this messy thing called human interaction can hold space for multiple truths. He might not think that he's a bad person, but of course, if you listed all the things he's done, the lying, the sneaking around, the consequences, the hurt, the harm, the time lost, etc., you probably have a lot of evidence that would contradict that statement. Does he have an opportunity to redeem himself? Are you still present despite these harms? Yes, and yes. But I don't really think you need to take on that's that blame shifting and that gaslighting that we talked about. Those are, I cannot validate your truth, the betrayed partner's truth of you thinking of me as a bad person because I've done these terrible things. I can't hold space for that truth. So I'm going to blame shift. I'm going to get angry at you instead of you getting angry at me. I'm going to invalidate what you're saying instead of just letting the pain of that sit and change my soul.
Yeah, and I'm an addict in recovery, so I find my lens is different. My lens is we do bad things. I actually don't use good and bad and all of that because it isn't helpful for me. I know that addicts are very broken, and when I can look at the lens of this person is very broken and the things that they're doing are just horribly hurtful to themselves and everyone else, that gives me some compassion and a space to help, rather than, because I mean, the reality is if he's just bad, then he's just bad, and what's the point of even trying? It's not okay that he's blame shifting. Absolutely, but it feels like you guys are stuck in a really negative dance. So what can you either one do that will help shift it? And maybe it's maybe it starts with you being compassionate. Most addicts have wounds that are young, and if you look at an 8-year-old boy and go, is he going to grow up to be a bad person? I hope that isn't seen, but if you see the woundedness of that and understand that, it may shift the lens. I'm not saying you give them a pass. It's a reason, not an excuse. I'm not saying you have to be, oh, you're, but it just shifts things a little bit, so that hopefully you can find some healing for each and both of you. So
the compassion engaging soundbite I tell myself to help me, and again, it's not excuse making for people's bad behavior, but it's the story that helps me shift from being judgmental and not holding space for other people's situation is hurt people hurt people.
Yes,
it's not an excuse. It just helps me give context that these people are doing things out of very deep pain, brokenness, struggles, etc. I don't need to sit and be present for them or be the target of it.
Right.
But it gives me context of their limitations and capacity in that moment. Hurt people hurt people. Don't know if that helps.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's true. So we are out of time, and I'm sorry we can't get to all your questions. Kristin will be back the second week of October, so please join her. Next week is Eddie Caparucci, so join us for that particular one. But thank you all for the great questions. This recording will be posted on sexandrelationshiphealing.com under resources probably later today, so check that out. And Kristin's website, I posted to everyone. It got to just you and me, so I reposted it to the everyone. And if you guys are watching afterwards, you can either email Kristin or me, Tammy, TAMI at Seeking Integrity, and we'll give you the link for that too. So thank you. Great to see you, Kristin.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining.